Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming here with another great podcast. Thanks for tuning in. You guys are a wonderful audience. We certainly appreciate you guys always being here. Be sure to tell your neighbors, friends, relatives, dogs, cats to subscribe to the Chris Voss Show. They can go to youtube.com/Chris Voss and hit that bell notification button so you get notifications of all the great updates we do. Go to Google Play and iTunes, where you can take and subscribe to the podcast as well. I've got a wonderful guest on here today. You're going to love this guest because he's great and awesome, including in the world of podcasting. Jeremy Ryan Slate. He's the founder and Create Your Own Life podcast, which helps entrepreneurs the lives they know, live the lives they know they were meant to. And he studied literature at Oxford University, specializes in using podcasting and new media to create celebrity, and was ranked #1, hubba hubba, in iTunes New and Noteworthy, and number 26 in the business category. I think the Chris Voss Show's at number 5 million. After success in podcasting, Jeremy Slate and his wife, Brielle Slate, did I say that rightly?
Yeah, man.
Rightly. Founded Command Your Brand to help entrepreneurs get their message out by appearing as guests on podcasts, which he's here today. Who thunk it?
Dude.
So, welcome to the show, Jeremy. It's wonderful to have you on.
Hey, Chris, I'm stoked to be hanging out with you today, man. I know it's a lot warmer where you are right now as compared to where I am, so jealousy, man, but I'm stoked.
That's awesome. So you've got a great podcasting system you're on. I know a lot of our audience loves podcasting. What got you into that, and what got you from there to here?
A series of successive horrible failures.
That's what we all do in life together.
I love it, man, because I feel like whenever you start something, people always want to show you like the beautiful part of it. They don't want to show you like all the crap. I don't know. Can I swear here? Or no?
All the sausage you made. You swear as much as you want.
All the kind of shit that happens to you along the way. And it's like my original background was I wanted to be a teacher, and I taught high school for a couple of years. Kids kind of make fun of you, throw things at you, swear at you, and you're like, all right, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. And I went through a bunch of things like selling life insurance, full-time in network marketing, which was crazy, and a lot of different other things, which really didn't have purpose for me. And I had been listening to podcasts the whole time since like 2004, which is crazy when they were like really hard to find. I'm like, I think I'm going to start one of those. And I started one and it tanked and it was horrible. And nobody listened to it. We went for about a month. It was called Rock Your Life. And I started a new one about 6 months later where I actually was like, all right, well, how can I actually help people? Because I think a lot of times we're like, I want to be famous. I want to make money. I want to do this and that. And it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't serve anyone. So I started a new show called Create Your Own Life. And it did very well, getting 10,000 downloads in its first 30 days. And I talked to a lot of really, really cool high-level people. And it was kind of amazing when you just flip that script around to like helping people, how much easier it gets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I had a friend say he was going through catharsis recently, if I can speak on a Monday morning, and he was talking about how, what do you do when just nothing's working, the whole world goes to hell, and the best thing to do is to help people instead of focusing on yourself. Go help others. And that's the real cornerstone of like capitalism. I mean, basically, what do you do to be successful or make money? Go help other people solve their problems. And if you can create a product or service to help solve their problems, people sometimes will pay you for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting you started a podcast that long ago. There's so many challenges back then, and of course, people had didn't have really good mobile phones, so the ability to download stuff really quickly. It's great how podcasting has become so popular because people have these advanced phones now where they can download stuff, and it doesn't cost a fortune or take 5 million hours to download.
Yeah, well, it's funny because, like I said, I listened to him for a long, long time before I actually took action on that. Like, I didn't actually start until 2015, but I had been listening myself since like 2004. I've listened to a podcast called The No Agenda Show for like almost 10 years now, which is hilarious. They just make fun of the news all the time. It's great, but it's kind of interesting how you have to take that leap from being somebody that just consumes to somebody that creates. And I think a lot of people have trouble with making that like transition to actually like creating something.
And let's give your plugs really quick. I should have done that at the top of the show, but it's a Monday morning. Give us your plugs so people can go look you up and check out your show and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So my podcast and everything else is over at jeremyryanslate.com. And like I mentioned you before, I only use my middle name, not because I'm conceited, but because I'm trying to outrank a actor from the TV show Bonanza, which my parents named me after. Go figure. Man. Yeah, I know, right? It's horrible, right?
You're never going to beat that.
It's horrible, man. But that happens. So that's where all the personal brand stuff is. And anything business is over at commandyourbrand.media. We help people get on top-rated podcasts.
Nice. The and being on podcasts is really cool. In fact, I need to be on other people's podcasts more, come to think of it. I'm always doing my own podcasts, and we usually have about 2 a day. But maybe I need to figure out how to get on more people's podcasts.
So check out addictedtosuccess.com. I actually just wrote a whole case study article on how you can get yourself on a podcast in 8 steps.
Yeah. In fact, I got an email. There was an email system that had been sent to me by somebody that was focusing on how to get podcast guests, and they advertised the Chris Voss Show. And of course, you can buy advertisements if you want. And we got a flood of leads from that. I've got a flood of leads, of course, across my social media thing. But somehow I probably need to create an advertisement across the social media that rotates that says, hey, put Chris Voss on your show. Then I have to create time. I don't know. I'm such a selfish pig. I just like doing my own thing.
I don't know, man. Well, I guess you got to look at what kind of value you can bring to a show, though. Like why? I guess the big thing is what can I teach if I'm your expert?
There's really, seriously, this is what we're working with right here. There's no value.
But the thing is, man, that's the biggest thing about being a guest is you need to realize what's your kind of unique talent you can offer a lot of people. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing.
My biggest thing is, I have a huge audience, and any podcast we do, we put into the machine. I have 500,000 audience across 400,000 on Twitter, 125,000 on LinkedIn with my giant LinkedIn group. I can promote the mother out of anything. And just slam traffic the crap out of it. And so sometimes when people, usually a long time ago in the past when I was a real dick, of course I'm still a dick, but they would come to me and they'd be like, hey man, will you be on my blog or be on my podcast? And be like, well, how many people listen? There's 50. And I'd be like, oh man. But I should probably get away from that. I probably should just do people's podcasts and interviews and stuff like that. In fact, no one's asked me to interview for a long time. Maybe just no one cares anymore. Well,
here's the one thing I do, Chris, because I know you probably hate wasting time as much as I do. I put 1 or 2 days in my schedule every month where I do all my interviews, and it makes it a lot easier to kind of get control of your time and kind of be in that groove too. You know what I mean?
And you just say, okay, these 2 days are my be on other people's podcast days.
Yeah, I set up a Calendly link, and they're all block scheduled with enough time between, so I'm not I'm not dying by the time I get on your show, because that's also not fair as well. You know what I mean?
About the one thing I can contribute to show is I used to be a male stripper up until about a month or 2 ago, so I can do the whole male stripper thing on a show if it's a video show. So I could do a pole dance or something.
with Patrick Swayze, right?
Oh, Patrick Swayze. It would be the Chris Farley version, of course. Given my size. Wait, people right now listening to this on iTunes on audio are like, what? What is he talking about? Why is that a joke? Anyway, I think most people listen to me know I'm fat, so there you go. So tell us more about your podcast. Like what's the core of it? What have you done to make it successful? What's a really great way to create an awesome kick-ass podcast?
Yeah, well, it kind of comes from this conversation I had with my dad, where my dad was this guy, he didn't graduate high school, worked his ass off and got to management in a company, when you could still do that. I think now it's really tough to do that. Mm-hmm. And when I jumped into network marketing full time after teaching, he was kind of like, what are you doing? And, I saw that presentation. I was like, I'm gonna make $1 million next week. It didn't work like that. Needless to say, I didn't last that long.
Most people don't.
He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, Dad, I want to create my own life. And he's like, well, good luck with that. And that's kind of where the name of it came from. It was this scornful conversation with my father. When I thought money just grew on trees, and apparently it doesn't.
It doesn't?
No, it took a bunch of years of running my head into a wall where I kind of realized you have to create something people want, not convince them to join your opportunity. But anyway, that led me to the idea of create your own life. And from there, I was kind of like, well, who do I really want to learn from? And I made this list of the top 100 people that I most admired. And I spent about 8 hours writing them individual emails of like why they mattered to me, why I wanted to share their mission with other people. And like, you know, that was a long process, man. Like a lot of people aren't willing to put in that much
a lot of work.
Yeah, without a guarantee of reward, a lot of people aren't willing to do that. They're like, well, how can I
the 100 people I like, let alone 10?
Well, a lot of people are like, how can I just create an email list and just, you know, blast them? And like, especially for that, like the quality really, really, really matters, like to spend that time on it. So, and because of that, I really spent the time to base each episode around teaching something, the audience started to grow. And it was also the idea of too, like the part people don't tell you is how much work they have to do in the back end. Like, and you probably know this for as much of what you do. Like I sent out 3,000 individual LinkedIn messages before I knew you could automate that. So I did them by hand. I sent out like 500 emails that was my original list. And then like another 250 for my personal contacts, sent 700 text messages to all my friends. And then also like, it's funny because the night I launched, we ended up going out to the bar with my friends and I was like grabbing everybody's phone, like writing myself a review on their phone. And I think that's what people don't realize is like the amount of work you have to do on the back end to make something like that really move. They think you just put it out there and it happens. So
for really, sexual favors for reviews.
What's that?
I offer sexual favors for reviews.
I don't know about that one, man.
You got to do what you got to do, man.
Oh,
my gag reflex, let's just put it this way, is gone.
Oh my God. Oh man. So like it was a lot of action up front and then just continually like refining and promoting. And I think that's the biggest thing that people don't realize is just that amount of action you have to take up front. Like you don't just put it out there and it happens.
That's why my gag reflex is gone. The amount of action you have to put up front. I'm sorry. I can't let that joke go by.
Oh man.
So you did a lot of work, man. But that's the commitment that people don't realize in how the sausage gets made, man. It's ugly, it's hard, it's sweaty, it's it's really hard. So how'd that pay off for you?
Initially in the first 6 months, it didn't do like I didn't make anything off of it though. Like it started growing very, very quickly. We hit, like I said, 10,000 downloads quickly, went to 15, 20,000 a month, and it just kept growing. But here's the thing, like you probably know this as a podcaster, like we get paid on like for advertising, we get paid on something called cost per thousand, which I think the going rate of that's like $25 per thousand, which is like freaking nothing. So what I actually ended up doing is 6 months in, I put together this like idea of charging people a flat rate for advertising. So I could charge like, like anywhere from 75 to $150 an episode, depending on where I was putting somebody. So I was actually able to make some money off the show initially. And that was kind of like my first, like, wow, I made money off of a podcast thing. And from there, I moved into podcast production where I was doing this like done for you model with creating podcasts for people. We would do their guest booking, their graphic design. I'd build their website, like everything around it. And I'll tell you what, man, it was a little bit of a bear. Like that, there was a lot more work involved in that than I expected. And I was kind of like, well, what do people like the best about this whole thing? And that's when we pulled out the idea of guesting and actually built a separate company off of that. And that actually turned into becoming everything we did. And we stopped producing podcasts because it just kind of made more sense to be able to be the best at that rather than like doing this thing where I'm going to offer you 30,000 things and I'm going to make $2. Like that was kind of about what it was. Like it was very difficult to price because there was so much work involved.
What's the best way you've learned to track how many people are downloading and listening to your webcast?
There's not much out there in terms of that. Like my podcast host is Libsyn, and I've used a bunch of different ones like SoundCloud, but I've kind of found that Libsyn's stats tend to be the best. They actually just had an overhaul where now that you can actually see like unique downloads, because before the issue was like somebody could go click on the download button 10 times. So they've actually figured out a way to tie IP address to the downloader, and they can figure out like more of a unique number. So it's kind of reduced overall numbers by everybody in the platform by about 8%, but it really kind of gives you a good idea. Subscriber numbers would be great, but nobody has it yet. Like you can't even hook up a feed burner or anything to it.
Yeah, it's just so insane, and that frustrates the hell out of me. iTunes recently. Let me log into this. iTunes recently.
They did the beta, right, for the Podcast Connect?
Yeah, and I went into it the other day, I think 2 or 3 days ago. Let me revisit this. But I went into it and like almost, there was like, we're still working on your numbers. It's like, what's the point of this?
Well, my stats are even like way off into my ratio of what they were in Libsyn, like way off.
Yeah.
Like
I barely show anything compiled, and it says that it's still building my data stuff.
Yeah.
It's really weird. There's a few that have some data on them, but it's like, basically they're just like, yeah, we just puke this out and we don't have any.
Yeah, well, like on my end, like since I think October they started tracking a lot of this, and they didn't tell us about it till recently. So like my numbers during that time were about like since then I've done about 60,000 downloads to I think like 80,000 downloads or something like that in my podcast hosts. But if you check the podcast Connect, it says I did like 300.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, wow, if that's the case, man, I'm just going to end it all now. So it's like,
just like end it. Mine still shows not enough data. There's not enough data to show this. And when I go into episodes, it's not showing anything except a few random ones. I don't know why.
Like, it's nice that they're working on it. It's nice that they're working on it, but it's way off from where it needs to be.
Yeah, they shouldn't have even launched it from what I'm seeing. I'm just like, why give me this data? I wish Google Play would offer up the same thing. Maybe they'll get around to it. I use Blueberry. Blueberry.
Yeah. That's Todd Cochran's company.
Todd Cochran's. We had Todd on the show. He's great. I've always loved their services. They do, I guess, as good as anything on analytics. That's why I'm always asking, is there better analytics out there? I'm always trying to get more analytics. I have people write me and they're like, yeah, we listen to the show all the time. And I'm like, okay, well, can you review it?
Can you listen 2 more times so my numbers go up?
Yeah, can you please take more time out of your life to listen to this crap? So yeah, it's a real challenge in being able to provide numbers. Like with YouTube, I can talk to people about numbers. With the Chris Voss Show, or put stuff I post on the web, I can track this. It's insane to me that podcasts are this popular, and it's just so poor that we can't get better analytics on it. It's just insane.
Well, and it's got to be the database that iTunes uses for that, really. Like, it's got to be dated. That, to me, that would sound like the problem.
Yeah. So Libsyn is a service that you guys use.
Yeah, they just did a massive overhaul. Libsyn. So they did a massive overhaul. So their stats are like redonkulous right now.
Cool.
Still no subscriber numbers, which is honestly the thing we'd all like to have, because then we actually know the number of people that are listening, not just the download.
Yeah, because the download, there's so many apps that will auto download, and well, I hate to piss on my own numbers. It's just like, you're just like, I don't know if that person really listened to it. For all I know, it's the auto download, especially. Well,
and the thing you got to think of too, Chris, is like, let's say you're downloading and your Wi-Fi connection goes off, and then it starts downloading again. It completes the download, but it took 2 downloads to do it. So those are like things you have to think about. Like, there's a lot of things that can cause an issue, like if your IP's slow, any of that stuff.
Yeah. And we promote every show across the Chris Voss Show channels. It goes out across my Twitter. Sometimes it'll get about 2 or 3 months worth of promotion. So we have people not only going to the chrisvossshow.com, we have people going to iTunes. There's a lot of people that click the link on Bitly that go to the iTunes and the there's a lot of different pages and directs I have for it. There's a page from the Chris Voss Show. There's of course the direct links that go out on Twitter. We have a multifaceted marketing campaign to get people to go into whatever, but then you just never know. Like, we had about 4 days the other day where the downloads dropped to, I think, a quarter of what they normally are, and I started going into a panic. And I wrote to Blueberry and said, "Is there anything going on I need to know about? Because like, I don't know what just happened." The same thing happened to me in October, and I was kind of like, "What?" They just took like a 4-day fucking dive, and then now they're back up again. So you're just like, I don't know, what was that about? Yeah, because it's like, I didn't do anything differently. I didn't change anything, and it's exactly the same. So it's a crazy business, but to me, it's fun to meet people. It's fun to integrate people, hear other people's life stories. I've always been a people watcher, so I enjoy my podcast from that nature. But yeah, I mean, just there's not like a. I suppose you basically have to hire a PR agent if you want to be on more podcasts and have them start pounding through everybody and saying, hey, this expert wants to talk on your show or something. I don't know. Have you found any good places to post to say, hey, I want to be on a podcast, someone talk to me?
There's not really anything out there like that yet. Like I know like podcastguest.com. I think Andrew Ailman's doing some stuff where they're like that, but it's not quite there yet. Like really the only thing out there is like agents like myself that are like getting you booked on shows other than that, just because there's, like there's not really like a place where you can go and like, it's like a directory or anything yet at this point in time.
Yeah. Podcast guests, they feature the Chris Voss Show, and we got a lot of submissions off that. And they did it without paying for it. So I should probably give them a plug. I submitted to, the alternative was though, and I complained to podcast guests about it. So I wanted to complain about their service. But I said, I invited a bunch of the people that, advertise as expert guests to have them come on the podcast, and almost none of them replied. Where we got all our action was when they actually featured us on their thing. And then, like I said, Facebook groups was a great way. I went into one or two of my Facebook groups and I just put up a little ad and I said, hey, we're willing to talk to people. And that got a lot of action. Sadly, a lot of the people, I kept giving them instructions to send me an email so that I could integrate them with the show. I run everything off of Gmail, and they wouldn't fall through it.
The amount of people that can't take simple instructions, Chris, kind of worries me.
Like, and I even put in the comments, I'm like, okay, that's great. You want to be on the show? Just please email me, XYZ. And so, but we do pretty good now. I've got about 2 people a day on the podcast. We take a break over Christmas, but I have an average about 2 people a day. And we have great, interesting stories and people's life stuff. I used to have it just segmented towards tech and gadgets, and I got really tired of that. I like seeing other podcasts where people would come on that you didn't know. And I'm like, I'd rather have a podcast where people don't know who's going to be on.
Right.
They just know that hopefully Chris is going to be funny and interesting or stupid, which is entertaining sometimes, at least in my mind. And hopefully he'll have a great guest and he'll create great stories and info out of them. So that's kind of what we're going with now. And I've been loving it a whole lot more because people come on, and like I had a gal on the other day who she is the dominatrix. She has a dominatrix's guide towards business, and she helps women find their inner dominatrix to apply towards being successful in business and having confidence and stuff, which women, some women do need. They need, a little bit of boost of confidence. And,
right.
When you're competing in a male world, sometimes you need that extra sort of, maybe we all do. And so it was interesting to have her take on things. I was kind of, when I first saw her email come across, I'm like, do I really want a dominatrix on the Chris Voss Show? It could be weird, but it is marked explicit on iTunes for the swearing. But she came on, she gave some great information. We had an incredible discussion. Some of it sneaked into the YouTube movement and women's issues and women, how to help women be successful. And it was really wonderful. At least I thought it was. I don't know if anybody else did, but Dana Ferrant, I should say, was her name, the Dominatrix's Guide to Inner Power in Business on the thing. So you guys have had quite the journey in podcasting then with your company and what you've done.
Yeah, I've been around for a long time, but like I said before, I wanted to actually take that leap. And then myself, I've done 350 interviews, and it's kind of interesting, like how that leads us to like a lot of opportunities, right? Like it got me in Forbes, it got me in Inc., got me in a lot of different places that I never saw happening. So that's why I was so excited about like helping other people to do that, because I just know how life changing it can be if you play your cards right. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot to how you're going to do it.
There's I think people look at these products and they go, well, I want to make money. I want to do that to make money. And I think that's the wrong way to go about it. Like you said, when you did launch your first podcast, I mostly do my podcast out of love of meeting new people, interesting stuff. There's been some business deals that have come out of it, but I didn't really set forth the purpose of going, I want to see how much money I can make out of this.
Because if you're doing that with podcasting, it's a really bad plan.
Exactly. I did the same thing on YouTube. I just started going on YouTube and talking about stupid stuff that I thought. I've always been a big mouth. And, back when I had my companies, my big companies and stuff, I was the CEO. So you have to be a big mouth. You have to talk to the investors and sell them. You have to talk to employees and sell them. You have to talk to the vendors and sell them. You're always selling the company and what you guys are trying to do and the vision all the time, 100% of the time. So you're a big mouth, and that's always been my life, even though I grew up an introvert. And so podcasting, social media just played right into Chris Voss's big mouth, if you will. One thing I do need to do to the show is I need to try and target and get more people on the show that are some higher profile sort of targets. And that's probably something I should probably start looking into. A friend of mine, he actually got, and he doesn't have a podcast or a very consistent one. He actually got, what's his name? King from the old CNN series. Maybe I got the wrong name. But the old guy who used to do, he's been married like 15 times.
Larry King? Larry
King. He actually got Larry King.
Wow.
On the show. And he doesn't have like a podcast. He got Jeff, what's his name? The Australian comedian on. He's gotten a lot of big names on. And he doesn't even have like a show really.
Yeah.
He just got them on a few episodes.
You talk about Jeff Dunham, the puppet guy?
It wasn't Jeff Dunham. It was the Australian guy who did that gun video stand-up routine about Australia and how they got rid of guns and what America's problems is with guns. He has a show now on Comedy Central. But I'm horrible with names, as you can tell. Great with faces. But he just got a bunch of great people on. And I was thinking the other day, I should probably target maybe some name and people like Chris got XP or something. But I really care who I have on the show is have interesting stories. I've had a few podcasts that I just can't, no matter what I can do, I just can't make someone have something interesting other than like, this is what I do. I do it. But at least
my God.
I can try and jive it up with comedy and jokes and make it semi-interesting for whatever. But different strokes for different folks. I mean,
yeah.
Probably some people those podcasts appeal to that are sleepers.
Well, in your mind, I guess what makes a good guest from your standpoint? Like what makes it fun for you?
If they're interesting, they're lively, they got a great voice, they got great personality. Someone like yourself, of course.
Shucks, man.
Great. I mean, different tidbits people can learn. Like people right now are probably looking up Libsyn and Blueberry and great information people can utilize, like people that where they can take whatever we're talking about and go, how can I apply this to my own life or not?
Right. And what's your PayPal email again so I can pay you for saying nice things about me?
Before you send that to my Bitcoin address.
Oh man.
One Bitcoin would be great right now. Talk about a train wreck that I missed.
I don't know, man. I'm still waiting for that whole thing to crash. Like, you know what I mean?
I think it's gonna become the new currency of the future, or at least one of those things is gonna become the new currency of the future.
I don't know, man. I'm still waiting for Andrew Dice Clay to come out and go, oh, when it dies,
Oh. Trying to think of a good Andrew Dice Clay bit that I can do on the air. Jack and Jill went up the hill. Oh, I won't go into it. Love Andrew Dice Clay. He was so awesome. But so let's talk about some other things. What are some of the most important guests, or what are some of the great guests? What do you look for in a great guest on a podcast? Let's go with that.
I guess there's a little bit of me that wants to interview celebrities just because it's like, it just to me seems very interesting, like what happens to them. Like, for example, I got to interview former NFL All-Pro Shawn Merriman. And that was really cool because like you meet some of these guys and you're like, they've been through some shit to get where they got to. And I think a lot of us, like, we give up really, really easily. And that's why I think talking to a lot of these big people is really cool. Like I just read an article recently from Forbes that talks about, like, if you look at a lot of highly successful people, they come from broken homes and they come from rough childhoods. because they have to deal with a lot more stuff. And to me, it's kind of interesting to deconstruct that and see what that's like.
Yeah, it might be interesting to do movie stars these days, because it would be interesting. So, what did Harvey Weinstein's cum taste like? Yeah, really bad. Wow.
Wow.
I'm going to hell. I just could not let that joke go by. Yeah, right now would be an interesting time during the Me Too movement. So, did Harvey Weinstein let you orgasm too, or was it just all about him?
Hey, man, I think anybody could get Kevin Spacey right about now, because he's really looking for a job at this point in time.
I could probably get Kevin. Actually, I could probably get some Me Too rejects on the show, because Kevin, I'd probably be the only person who wants to talk to Kevin right now. Because, well, what he did was bad. I still am a huge fan of his movie, The Usual Suspects. That's like one of my favorite movies of all time. But I don't condone what he did.
Right.
That was bad, but I still like the movie. And there's a lot of other great actors in as well. So the whole thing.
It's kind of crazy, like what's happening right now. Like, I know Tavis Smiley just went down. Mario Batoli, which really surprised me. It just seems like it's all over the place right now.
Yeah. Like I don't know. We used to cook for gals and ladies and invite them over to our place for a Sunday barbecue. That was good enough to get laid by feeding them great food. Yeah, I would think Mario Batali would just be able to cook something for a woman if he wanted to hit on her. And I'd sleep with him if he cooked me like a really great steak. He's not gay. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm one of those guys where I've always done the joke bit that someday I think what I'm going to do is just find me a really great Italian/Mexican lady who can cook like mean Italian. I don't care how ugly she is. She got warts on her face, big hairy one on her brow. If she can cook and feed me well, I give up, man. I'm done. I'll just be like, I'll marry you. We probably won't have sex, but who does in a marriage, really? As long as I get good cooking, I'm at that point in my age of my life where if you say to me, Chris, do you want like the best steak ever homemade, or would you like some great sex? I'm like, I don't know what's on that steak again?
Montreal steak, you say? Oh, I'm in.
Yeah, blue cheese and smothered, filet mignon. I think I'm going with that. Now, if I was 20 and you asked me that question, we all know what the answer was.
Montreal steak, of course.
Montreal steak. Yeah, whatever. So yeah, it's interesting that's going on. Maybe I should just focus on a D list of celebrities. The celebrities that I can get on the show who are just they're either washed up or they just want anybody to talk to them because no one
just look for who can't get a job right now, man. And either of us could probably get them. Like you could probably get Kathy Griffin very easily as long as she doesn't cut anybody else's head off, I'm
just reading here on Google, Matt Damon. He's getting some. He's getting really.
Matt Damon, really? I feel like he was like an untouchable guy.
I thought he was too, because usually anybody who's good looking doesn't get accused of sexual assault.
Yeah, because even Ben Affleck got in trouble at the beginning of this whole thing, and they just kind of like let it slide.
I guess he made some comments, and so he's getting vilified now for some comments he made. And I haven't read through his comments, but usually Matt Damon, any woman woos for him, so usually you don't see that. But yeah, some of the other stuff, like I always was a big fan of C.K. Lewis and his ability to create great comedy, but you look at those stories and you're just like, really, you had all these girls who really liked you and were willing to go back to your room, and that was the choice you made was to get naked. I mean. Like if I had girls that came back to my room, I'd be like, hey, we can either hang out and it can be cool, or there's the bed over there. And, as long as we're consensual, but making the choice to like, if you get a woman back to your room to like, hey, do you mind if I just get naked and pull things around you?
Like that doesn't make sense to me. Cause there's like a lot of these guys that it's come out and they're just like, it's just really, really, really weird stuff. And you're just like what? Like I don't you can't just be normal. Like I don't get it.
Yeah, like we can't have just normal consensual sex. And those girls probably were like, "Hey, I'm going back to his room. let's close this deal in a normal heterosexual sort of normal way that everyone kind of engages. Instead it got weird, and you're just like, and then the other thing is too, is if you look at it from his perspective, it's not really an engaging experience. Like, I guess he thought it was an engaging experience, but it kind of left the girls off cold. Like, so we just watch this thing.
Like, it just makes you look like a slime ball. Cause it's like, you know what I mean? It's like even worse. It's like, I don't even know. It's like there's
girlfriend, you go home at night and she's like, hey, let's get it on. You're like, okay. And you're just like, okay, you just sit there and watch and I'm just going to have all the fun. And
it's weird, man.
They're just kind of like, where am I in this whole process?
Yeah, it's just very weird because it almost seems like it's very perverted in a way. You know what I mean?
It's definitely perverted in a way. I mean, I don't want to judge you if that's your thing, and maybe you find a partner in life.
I have no problem judging you.
That's their thing. I had one of my friends years ago. He picked up a girl at a club, or at least thought he did. Turns out he was chosen by the gal's husband. And they went home, and he was in the closet doing the Black Velvet sort of thing, where he was in the closet watching. Well, he had sex with a guy's wife, and that was their thing. He just didn't know about it till later.
That's like if you ever read any of Tucker Max's books. I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell. You're kind of like, you ever read any of his books?
No, but it reminds me of the Black Velvet movie where the guy would be in the closet going.
Well, because Tucker Max has one of the stories in the book where there's a guy in the closet doing that, but then the closet door breaks and he falls out and rolls onto the floor, and everybody just gets up and sprints out of the room.
Yeah, it's just like whatever. And then I've known a few people that's their kink. Their marital kink. They go out and find a guy and bring him home and whatever. But
it's beyond me to grasp that.
I'm just saying, as long as you have consent, as long as that's part of everybody's fun, but. These poor girls that would get hit up by C.K. Lewis and dragged back to, they would probably be going back to his hotel room going, hey, I'm going to probably sleep with C.K. Lewis in a normal sort of cool way that's not perverted. It doesn't involve me and it's mostly about him.
Right.
So, yeah. We've really steered far off of the podcast.
Yeah. I don't even know what we're doing right now, Chris.
We're into a whole Me Too sort of joke thing on C.K. Lewis, but
oh my gosh,
at least we're keeping relevant.
Hashtag I survived Chris Voss. I don't know.
Note to self. These are the stories that are prevalent in today's world and stuff. And maybe we should start a Me Too podcast. Maybe that's something someone should do. Start a Me Too podcast where they interview what it's like to be the other side of being ostracized from society and jobless.
Well, I think the crazier part though is you got to think like a lot of these people are like hiding this for so long. Yeah. So you're just kind of are you like kind of creeping around? Like, I hope nobody finds out about this. Like you got to screw up eventually. It's kind of my point. So it's like how weird is it to guys operate like that?
Well, C.K. Lewis did it for like 20 years or something. And you're just like, how did that not ever come out?
Yeah, how did nobody find out about that?
Yeah, and how does somebody think like it's so weird? It's like the Harvey Weinstein thing was just crazy. Where I think it came out he had a private agency that he'd hired to dig up dirt, and he was spending millions of dollars to try and make sure that the story never came. I mean, when you're that evil that you're spending millions of dollars to cover up what a shit show you are as a human being, that's something else.
Well, I think also right now we're kind of experiencing like this like leveling of the playing field right now, where like because it's so easy to get like let's look at the content creation area. Like Netflix and things like that are kind of controlling everything, so big names aren't as important anymore. So like you can't really hide because you're a big name anymore, because you're easily replaceable. So I think that's kind of like what we're running into right now, is like this new environment where we don't have to pander to the names because there's a lot of talented people out there, so we can actually get rid of the slime balls. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You bring up a good point there. I've seen a lot of great shows on Amazon. And
I've been watching this one recently called Silicon Valley on HBO Go through Amazon, which is funny as hell.
Yeah, a lot of people love that show. And there's not a lot of brand names on there. In fact, I think the only one is the one guy who's the comedian, and he really isn't like an A-list celebrity.
Yeah,
the guy with the beard, red beard. He was a comedian at TechCrunch and kind of bombed a few years ago. He pissed off half the people, and he's funny to the other half. But there's a lot of great shows and a lot of actors that have come back that you really didn't think about. And maybe it's the democratization of Hollywood, if you will.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's not run by like a group of single producers or a group of single actors or anything like that anymore. And that's why these guys are expendable now.
Because I get tired of seeing the same actors, play the same roles, and you're just like, like Mark Wahlberg. I mean, give me a break. This guy doesn't have an Oscar delivery for being able to do an actor's role. I think he pretty much glares the whole time. I mean, he's a good actor. I don't want to.
It's like Jason Statham. Every movie he's in has to have a car, or it doesn't work.
Yeah, it has to have a car. It doesn't work. There's going to be a fight somewhere, and I mean, when you look at great acting characters and their ability to play different roles, like a Meryl Streep. I mean, Jesus, she can go step into just about anything and own. It. And you're just. You get to the end of the movie and you're like, I bought that character. I mean, Mark Wahlberg's always Mark Wahlberg, and I'm not slighting him.
Even Brad Pitt, like I'm impressed with the variety of characters he can play.
It's just like, to me, I'm a big fan of Fight Club. I like Brad Pitt as an actor. But there's, any movie you go see, it's just like, this is still Brad Pitt in the movie.
Yeah.
Even I was watching, what was that movie where they play the Hitler?
Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of.
He played Lieutenant Aldo Rain. That was my favorite part of his. Yeah,
and even then, I still had trouble getting the character in that movie because I could just still see Brad Pitt. It's like everywhere he goes, I just still see Fight Club. Fight Club, I think, was one of my favorite movies of his. And still is to this day. But yeah, there's some actors that you just can't see them in anything different. But they dominate every freaking movie that's in Hollywood. And I think Hollywood, if your accountant plays like, I don't know what, top 20 people or top 10 people. And there are people that are worthy of it. Like, I think Ashley Judd. I mean, there's a lot of great female actors that I really like that they can own a, I'm trying to think of some other ones. Who's the gal who was in Monster? Who did the movie Monster, the female actress?
I don't think I saw that one.
But she can play, holy crap, she can play any role and just kill. But you get tired of, the other thing I get tired of Hollywood, I've complained about this before, is just the routine, good versus evil, and then good wins in the end. And pretty much where a show you can watch where the setup within 5 minutes, you know how the movie's going to end.
Unless it's a Tarantino movie, then like your brain kind of hurts at the end and everybody dies, you know what I mean?
And it's ugly and bloody and
or Game of Thrones is another good one because it's like George Martin just kills everyone and you're just like, all right, cool.
You just have no idea where it's going to end, and all you know is going to end up badly, and that's the fun, is the ride of the shit show of how it's going to do. But yeah, even like Quentin Tarantino's movies, some of his recent ones I've really struggled with. His old ones, of course, are classics, but the new ones, like the one he did, the one I really hated was the one he did with that, where they were trying to bring the 70s genre back of the
Grindhouse.
Yeah, Grindhouse. Like, I really just hated that, especially the ending. I was just like, it was so cheeseball. And I know that part of it was supposed to be cheeseball to pay homage to the genre, but it just was so awful. It was such a push. It was such a stretch push of like, it was like when they tried to get you to buy Coke, one of those Coke variations that bombed. You're just like, I was like, when they tried to get you to buy Coke Classic, it's like, you love this shit, now try this. And you're just like, no, it's awful. It's just like,
it's got stevia now, man. You can drink it this time. It's cool.
It was just bad. And then they pushed it on you and took away the original Coke that you liked.
Right.
It's like, you'll like this, fuck you or else. And you're just like, no. Like, I don't like it more so because you pulled that card out, you know? So yeah, I think it's going to be good. The shakeup in Hollywood with Me Too, I guess we'll segue into better waters with this. But yeah, I mean, I think the Me Too will give more opportunities to great actresses and great actors. And you know, I mean, come on, really, what's his face, who is in The Usual Suspects? He is a great actor, but God, he's in every damn thing. And I loved him in House of Cards.
Yeah.
But
well, I think you're onto something though about it's like the democratization of entertainment, like because it really is like we don't have to pander to those guys anymore, so they can very easily go down. You know what I mean? Like that's why Weinstein was so easy to take out.
Yeah, and I mean, like one of my favorite shows on Amazon is the car show, Motor Trends, or what's the one with the three guys from Europe? And
Top Gear.
Top Gear. I love that show. And it's not even so much about those guys. They do have a great chemistry and they're very funny. But the cinematography on that show, I don't know who they pay, but it should be in trillions. But the cinematography they get in screen captures and, you know, loading the car down with every different possible viewing angle you can see as it races through wherever. The cinematography on it's just excellent. And to me, that's what helps really tell a great story is the cinema of it, you know, the shots of it. I forget who I just on a horrible Monday morning, but the great actor from Japan, one of his big keys of being a great producer and director of movies was his cinematographer. I think Star Wars had the same thing.
You talk about Jet Li or no?
He had some great stuff too. The way he would play out a story and the action and just the full on action things. But great Japanese directors. I'm full on retard this morning when it comes. I just cannot get my brain to work. But it's one of the originals who inspired actually Akira Kurosawa.
Okay.
Akira Kurosawa, who's probably the godfather of movie making, really, when it comes down to a great movie making. But if you ever watch Akira Kurosawa's movies, his cinematographer was one of the greats that actually developed and improvised a lot of the different ways that they played out a story. The way they told the story, like hiding the tracks behind a set of trees, and as the person is walking along a path, the camera is flowing through the scenes and how it did it. And he inspired so many great directors to do those. And when you see a show like Top Gear on Amazon that you never see in Hollywood be made.
Well, it got kicked off of TV, and that's why it's on Amazon.
Yeah, it got kicked off TV. I think what's his name? Jeremy Clarkson. He made some comments with the BBC, and they said, "The hell with you," and then they brought it back. But Amazon's had some great things. House of Cards was a great show. I'm actually I got to tell you, I'm actually kind of interesting to see his co-host. I forget her name.
Robin Wright.
You know, she actually kind of played president, I think, for a while or something.
Yeah, it was Robin Wright is the other woman there.
It's actually kind of interesting to see if she can save that show and make it work, because I actually like her as an actress.
Well, the book series that it's based on, Kevin Spacey's character dies in the book. So like they're just gonna like kill him earlier, I guess.
So they're gonna kill him off, and it'll be interesting. Wouldn't it be cool to see if she can save that show and turn it into more episodes? And because she is an interesting character in and of herself, and she's a great actress as well. I mean, she certainly played an incredible part. To see her kill the guy who was doing her and that she was having an affair with, to see her kill him, and the way she killed him was kind of.
And she just calls somebody and tells them to clean it up. Like, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, and the way she did it and the coldness of it, she really became a lot like Kevin Spacey's character in that movie. And she could probably easily take it over from there, depending upon where they've gone with the show. Because I guess they already have a year in the can that is supposed to be released with Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, because I don't think that's going to affect the show that much getting rid of him. Because a lot of people, I believe, watch that for the plot line. Because it's just like every time it turns, you're like, what? That happened? Like, you don't expect it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You didn't see her. To see her murder somebody was about the same as seeing Kevin Spacey murder that newspaper gal, shoving her into the subway train.
Yeah, Zoe.
Yeah, Zoe. That's when it really got like, holy shit, and just the evilness, of course. And of course, they laid that down in House of Cards within the first episode when he kills the dog.
Mm-hmm.
They got hit in the street and he puts it out of his misery. And that's when you went, I mean, that just was like
It's some incredible foreshadowing.
Yeah, concrete brick dropped on your head. Yeah, it was great foreshadowing too. I've tried to watch the English version of that, and it was really bad. So somehow we've gone from how to create a podcast to Me Too, and now the democratization of Hollywood.
I think that's really relevant, though, Chris. I do. I think it's hugely relevant right now.
Yeah. And so what's the future going to be? Maybe the future is, it'd be interesting is if there's not really podcasts that are featured on Amazon, are there?
For categories, there are. Like there are for like they feature the top 200 in a category, and then also like sometimes on the front page of podcasts they'll feature one. They'll feature a couple of them.
It'd be interesting if Amazon really got into the podcasting, hosting, and controlling sort of thing, like they got into Hollywood movies, maybe Netflix as well. I don't know if you've applied yet, but I recently applied to get on Spotify because I guess
we've been on Spotify since I think the beginning of November.
What do you got to do to get on there? Do you really have to perform some sexual favors? Because I'm up for it, whatever it takes.
Well, for me, it was who I'm hosted with. So I'm hosted with Libsyn, so like it was just a button. So like if you host with Libsyn's like really easy. I go to SoundCloud, I go to Spotify, I go to iHeartRadio, and it's all from one place. It just pushes my RSS feed in all those different places.
So you didn't have to even apply?
No, you just pop it in, you're good to go.
Damn it. Maybe I'll be switching services. Todd Cochran will be calling me soon to go.
Well, tell Todd to do it, man. Then you'll be fine.
So, we'll take a look at Libsyn and stuff. I know I applied to them, and I've heard that very few people will, and they make it very specific on applying for them. That like, there's a high likelihood that we won't give a crap. And
well, Spotify, if you have Libsyn, you're in now. Like that's all you need.
Wow. So have you seen any sort of good stuff from Spotify? Have you got
a little bit? Like in ratio to what I usually do. Like I think it's been an extra maybe 100 to 200 downloads a month, so it's kind of nothing. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's kind of like it's good to be in more places because you're giving people more of a chance to find you.
Well, plus so many people use Spotify. Like I for a long time, we got on the TuneIn app, and I was telling everybody you can get on TuneIn, and I just had so many people coming to me and going, "What's the TuneIn app?" And I'm like, I'm just gonna stop plugging the damn thing. I think I'm doing more for them than they're doing for me. But Spotify is a place where I would really like to be because so many people have it. It's like iTunes and Google Play. So many people have it, do you see any places that are really bigger or more important to be than Google Play and iTunes? Like
about 80% of my downloads come from iTunes, so that's kind of like for me that's the gargantuan. There's not really, I think, other than that, any other place that does that big. Like Stitcher, I don't see a huge bump from. I do pretty well from Player.fm, and I do pretty well from TuneIn Radio.
Yeah, we got on the TuneIn thing. I don't know what we get off of that or if it does anything. Like I said, I had some people say, "What is TuneIn?" I know it wasn't SoundCloud. SoundCloud used to be really popular back in the day, but
it used to. But it's like their platform hasn't updated with the times.
And there was one that was kind of on the fence there, where everyone was wondering if it was going to go out of business. Was it Stitcher or was it SoundCloud?
It was SoundCloud. It was SoundCloud.
It was SoundCloud. And like all my friends that put their stuff on it were really panicking because they're like, holy crap, that thing could go down and we're going to lose everything. And I'm just like, that's what you get for betting on, someone else's portal.
Yeah.
But Yeah, so you see a lot of people doing that, but it really would be interesting. I still think that there is, I mean, iTunes did a great job of creating a podcasting app and putting it at the forefront of their stuff. I think it downloads and all their things, but there really needs to be like a centralized authority of a name brand. Like Amazon could step into this and turn it into something really powerful for what Amazon does, and they dominate everything. Yeah. So you could be like, see us on Amazon, or maybe if Amazon produced a series of podcasts that they put money into and really promote it or something. But the only thing is, then they go with celebrities, so people like you or me are left out to dry and stuff. I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know how to make it win. I was interested when the folks at podcastguest.com created their thing. I thought that was a very interesting product they created, where you could do matchmaking. Maybe there needs to be more matchmaking services put out there to, like, if you want to be on a show, here's how you can do it without having to pay a bunch of money to get a PR agent. And if you have a show, here's how we get the two of you guys together and make this bloody thing work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So fun is fun. Well, it's been wonderful. We've hopefully I brought that full circle and talking about.
I think you did, man. I think we did an amazing job today.
So. Segue a long way around, and now we're back. So we'll take it from there. Anyway, Jeremy, it was wonderful to have you on the show. I'd love to have you on anytime. So feel free to plug me and say, hey, let's get on the show and talk about whatever you want to push and all that good stuff. Give us your plugs so that people can go look you up and subscribe to your podcast.
Yeah, if they want to check out my podcast, it's over at jeremyryanslate.com. And if they're interested in getting on podcasts, it's over at commandyourbrand.media.
So if they want to be on your podcast, they can probably hit you up and say, hey, I've got some interesting stuff. What sort of stuff do you look for, or guests do you look for on your show?
I'm usually trying to find like more known names now, just because known names and celebrities, because I'm trying to like deconstruct that. So that's where a lot of my attention's been. But if I can get like a crazy awesome story, that's always going to be something I'll look for. So there's a guest application actually on my site that they can fill out, and it kind of gives me all the necessary information to see if they're fit.
That's another good tip. Maybe people should have that on their podcast, how to apply to be a guest on our show. And that way you can do the thing.
It saves you a lot of the headache, man.
Yeah. I love great stories. I love great life stories, great comeback stories. There was a guy we had on the other day that he'd gotten struck by lightning and gone through a near-death experience, or a death experience actually, and lived through it. And that was an interesting story, an interesting journey, and how many people can you interview that got struck by lightning and lived, and then
seriously
had some sort of life experience that they learned from on it. That's pretty cool. So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in, Jeremy, and my audience as well. We love our audience. So thanks for all of you for subscribing to the show. Be sure to go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit that bell notification button. That's super important, because YouTube doesn't tell you anymore, because they're jerks, as to when we upload new things to the show. So please do that as well. Tell your friends, neighbors, relatives, refer people to the show as well. Go to iTunes, Google Play, the TuneIn app now, and subscribe to the show, or tell your friends and neighbors, relatives to subscribe to the show as well. Go to patreon.com/Chris Voss to support the show and get in some of our private Facebook groups. Thanks, Jeremy, for being on the show. We certainly appreciate all of you.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
Thanks.